Nimbus came to the aquarium around August 11th, 2010. His hatch day was pretty close to that, so he just turned 9 years old. Nimbus was found in a nest right here where we are, across from the aquarium at Pine Knoll Shores. A group of volunteers found Nimbus when he was still in the nest. There's a group of volunteers that manage each beach. All the volunteers work under the North Carolina Resources Commission, and that group of volunteers for Pine Knoll Shores was excavating the nest after it emerged. So a few days after it emerged, they dug in, did an inventory of the nest, and when they did, they found a little egg that had not hatched yet, which is pretty normal, and they noticed that inside was a little white turtle. So that turtle was stuck in the egg, and they helped him out of the egg, and it turned out to be Nimbus. He had a little bit of a face deformity where he was not able to get out of the egg, so that egg tooth wasn't quite there like it would be on a normal turtle. So they helped him out of the egg, and then they brought him to us, and we worked with him as a hatchling, kind of overcome some issues with his mouth. So we spent a lot of time as a hatchling working with his mouth because he has a cleft palate, which makes it really tricky for an animal that needs to crush and eat hard food. We noticed that he had some issues with his eyes, which would also be common for a white turtle. So he definitely has blindness in his right eye and some visibility issues, but he just learned to compensate for that and turn his head and able to feed with our feeding techniques using his other eye. So he definitely feeds a little bit different than a normal loggerhead. His mouth is different than a normal loggerhead, and obviously his color is different than a normal loggerhead. He does have a white yellowish coloration, which is what leucistic turtles have. So he's not a true albino, he's a little bit different. And he does things differently, but he's become extremely popular because he's different. He is thriving and happy and doing well and healthy, and every year that we have with him is great. His life expectancy would not be the same as a normal loggerhead. So every year that we have him is another cool year that we get to spend with him and just enjoy this super charismatic loggerhead.
So Nimbus is in the Queen Anne's Revenge, which is a 50,000 gallon habitat. It's the second largest habitat in the building. He may not spend his whole life there, he may move to a larger habitat, but he's got plenty of room to swim around there with all the other coastal fish found there. A lot of times if you come to look for Nimbus, you may see him laying on the bottom resting. He will sleep and sit very still for long amounts of time. We've seen him spend 20, 30 minutes in one space without moving, and the fish will even swim around him and peck at him. Doesn't bother him at all. He's just a very heavy sleeper sometimes. He's about 60 pounds now, so he's growing steadily.
And he eats 3 times a week.
We feed him a small percentage of his body weight, and all of that's regulated by the vet staff here so that we know that he's growing at a healthy amount, he's not getting too big, and he's also not growing too slowly. So what we do is before we introduce the 20 pounds of food that goes in for the fish in there, we drop in a feeding basket. Nimbus is trained to come up to a buoy on a stick, and we can guide him into the basket. He gets a small cup of different types of mixed meats. It could be mackerel, herring, or shad, squid, shrimp, things like that. And then there's also something we call turtle gel food, which is a mixture of different types of algae, along with calcium and other nutrients and vitamins that are good for turtles' growth. So once a year, Nimbus gets his yearly physical. The vets will come in and we'll bring him up into his feeding basket. So we take Nimbus out. First thing we do is we get a weight on him to make sure that his growth rate is correct for that age that he is. He has a little bit more poor vision, so the vets check his eyes to make sure his eyes are healthy. And so they check inside of his mouth, they check his flippers, his muscle strength, and all of that stuff. He's never had any medical issues, he's doing really well, but we do keep a yearly physical on him just to make sure that he is growing and developing the way that he should. So Nimbus was never planned to be an aquarium ambassador animal to the extreme amount he is, but due to his unique coloration, his personality in general, he's become a huge fan favorite. He's like Elvis here, so now he's got like stuffed animals, there's t-shirts, there's all types of stuff. Nimbus is pretty awesome here and people love him. So he's definitely one of the animals here that visitors continually ask about every time they come, and they come back more and more often just to see him each year and see him grow. We have visitors that come that remember when Nimbus was the size of a golf ball, and now he's pushing 60 pounds, so they enjoy coming and just seeing him as he develops.